speak, but where you are now.
If you want to pull the details from there, contact our business support. What clients am I really looking for at the end of the day? As well as people coming on that course, or people you know who may want to come in, let me know, we can have a chat, and we can maybe help them put together a very quick business plan. Business services We don't need very little introduction from any of us here at the Business Club. Most of us have known her for a period of years. Most of us have worked with Jenny. Jenny is a very experienced business coach. She's highly motivational. She comes highly recommended. And those of you who've worked with Jenny will understand that. One of the most important or precious things in this world is time. Because time is the one thing that once it's been spent, you can't buy it back again. It's gone forever. So without further ado, Jenny, tell us about time management, please.
Thank you very much for that lovely introduction. Okay, so I've called it How to Make Your Day as Effective as Possible and Time Management, but there actually isn't such a thing as time management. It's the self-management of the 1,440 minutes in a day, 24 hours and 168 hours in a week. So it's how we manage that time very, very efficiently and effectively. And most of us are very efficient, but we're not very effective. So what do I mean by that? Being efficient is doing the right things, and most of us are efficient. But being effective is doing the right things right at the right time. I'll say that again, doing the right things right at the right time. And that for some of us is quite hard, for lots of different reasons. And we're going to talk about that in more detail in a few minutes. So first of all, why bother? What are the benefits? Now for me, you'll see that for me it's three main ones. Working on what's important, not just urgent. What do I mean by that? Okay, the things that are urgent are what your clients scream at you for, or your colleagues, things with really fairly fast deadlines. But what's important, the things that you do to reach your business goals. So for example, if you want to grow your business by 10%, if you don't make any time to sit down and work out a strategy and take new actions to grow your business 10%, it won't happen. So for me, it's not just a matter of working on the important and the urgent, but it's squeezing more out of each day that you can make more sales, more profit, what's important to you. And you can spend more time achieving what is important to you, your personal business goals. Now they're mine. Can I just open that up to the room here, because this has to be interactive, got to get you to work a bit. What would be a reason for any of you to become more effective? So what needs to happen for you? What's the benefit to you of doing the right things right at the right time? Would anybody like to add a different reason on top of that one? Rita.
Accountants and most professionals can only sell time. If you make your time effective, then you make more use of it and you make it worth it.
Absolutely. One of the things that people don't often take into consideration is what is the value of their time. If you want to charge £100, £200 per hour as a professional, and you allow somebody to interrupt you for 10 minutes and you faff around on a telephone call, or whatever else you may do, one of your staff comes and talks to you about something they did last night, you could have spent half an hour not achieving anything, and that could cost you money. You do that several times a day or several times in a week. That could make a very, very big difference. Anybody else want to add any other benefits, Ned?
Yeah, I would say that, obviously things like business development for something is important, but also there are other jobs such as working on stuff for clients, which might be important, they're not urgent, but they will become urgent if you do not actually focus on them.
Very valuable.
And then of course you get stressed, and that then has a knock-on effect as well. So not procrastinating on something is very important.
We're going to come back to both of those things a little later, so thank you very much. Cindy, you know something?
I spend a hell of a lot of time on messing about with IT stuff as well. My Firefox, my Safari, all the email and things, but mostly things that just don't work, and just staring systems working better.
We'll come back to that with the greatest of pleasure. Anybody else? David?
All the responses have been very logical. Could I put one that's not logical?
Absolutely anything and everything.
You feel a lot better. The satisfaction, you get a warm glow. And I don't think we have to wait till we're 65 or 75 when we retire to feel good about life. Some in between. Could I just tell a brief story about that?
Please do.
I was talking to somebody who was global head of consulting for one of the big accounting practices. So he had about 15,000 management consultants working for him. As Rita said, they all charge on time. And I just asked, well, how do you manage? And he said, well, every night before I go to sleep, I spend a minute just examining what I did during the day, what worked, what didn't work, and what would I do differently, because then you draw the messages from the other. And he said, in the morning, before I get up, I spend a minute deciding what I'm not going to do that day. And he said, I only do 2 things each day. One that I want to do, and one that I've got to do because of my position in the global hierarchy. And he said, just before I go to sleep on December the 31st, I reckon I've done more than 700 important things in the year.
That's a really lovely tool and tidbit. Thank you very, very much. During this learning bite, there'll be lots of tools and tidbits shared. I could have started off by saying this is what you should do as an expert, blah, 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 but I don't find that works. So what I'm going to do is get each of you to come up with what works for you, compile an entire list, and then that will be emailed out to everybody. And there'll be a few more things discussed on that as the learning bite goes along. Thank you very much for that, particularly valuable. Okay, so just to get you to start to think of how you spend your time today, what you might do differently, I'm just going to ask you literally 3 questions. So, it's 10 o'clock at night, and you suddenly remember, oh, I should have done something. How many people do that? Does it stop you sleeping at night? When I work with people, and I probably spend 60 to 70% of my time when I meet new clients, once we've established what the goals are, what their vision for the business is, and how they spend their time, many people turn around and say, oh, but I've just got so much to do, and so often I wake up and think of something later on in the evening, and that stops me going to sleep. I worked with a client last year that had terrible, terrible migraines, and in fact, all he actually did to stop them was at the end of his working day, he made a to-do list for tomorrow, and he made it realistic. So if it was miles too long, he didn't put it on tomorrow's list, he added a few more things into his diary. And when he'd done that for 3 weeks, the migraine started to go away. So it's not a matter of doing massive things very differently. You'll see as this learning bite goes on, it's taking very small baby steps that can have a very big impact. Okay, on to the next question. Do you miss activities with your family because you haven't planned your work life appropriately? You might be going out to picnics, seeing elderly people, taking out your wife, husband for a special event, whatever it may be. Again, I work with loads of people that say, I really want to go home at 5 o'clock next Thursday, but I can't because I've got something very important the following day and I haven't planned it sufficiently to make that happen. Do you procrastinate and put things off? I don't know how many can see that, but that whole pile of paper. I put that in for a reason, because not often do people have massive piles of paper like that these days, but that might be applicable to how many emails you might have. Now, I have worked with several, I'm going to pick on accountants now, please don't take this personally, it has nothing to do with you. I often work with accountants who will never say no to a client. They might phone up at 4:30 today. The accountant's already got 2 or 3 hours work of something to do. And say, please, I must have it for tomorrow. So that takes priority, and all sorts of other things don't happen. And that can go on day, on day, on day. And about 2 years ago, I worked with an accountant, and I made him the first thing to do, to go away and make a to-do list of everything he had to do, go through all the emails that were outstanding in his inbox. Not work with them, but just physically make a list of everything he had in there, and how long it would take him to clear that. And it was 100 hours to actually get up to date. And I think how much time that involved in procrastination, in actually thinking about it, never doing it, but just thinking about it. A little later I'll tell you the end of the story, what he actually did, because it was actually very, very simple to put right. But, you know, if people don't stay on top of their emails, I think that's one of the biggest headaches for people today in time management. I often get clients to do a time log just for 1 week or 2. So every time an email comes in, if they actually look at it, it'll take 10 to 15 seconds to put down whatever they're doing, 10 to 15 seconds to read it, 10 to 15 seconds to think about it, another few seconds to think, well, how urgent is it? Does it go to the top of the list? No, it doesn't. Totally forget about it. They've done absolutely nothing at that point, except wasted a minute and a half. Right? 10 to 15 seconds to get back to what they were doing, and the time that's all gone out is the best part of 2 minutes. And sometimes they can do that 70 or 80 times a day.
I made a resolution while I was away. And today was the first day I actually brought it into action, exactly to do with the emails. I now have a second email address. I use that now internally within the office so that I can actually keep my Outlook shut all day. I did not look at my emails until 4 o'clock this afternoon. I had 50 emails waiting, it took me 10 minutes to clear them, otherwise it would have taken all day to do it.
What a lovely outcome. Well
So I'm
done.
hoping I can keep that up.
So I'd like to ask you what needs to happen that you can keep it up.
I had to have the second email address so I can communicate with the staff, and I just shut the Outlook, and it will all wait.
Well done. See? Okay, do you procrastinate and put things off? So we spoke a little bit about wasting time looking at emails. The others I've put up here are the main things most of my clients procrastinate on. So don't make sales calls. You've done a quote, you've done all the work, but if I phone them up and they say no, I might get rejected. So I won't do it now, I'll do it later. How much does that actually cost that person's business? I'm working with a client at the moment that they've got 82 quotes outstanding. How much is that actually worth to them? Because they just have been too busy and they haven't made it an important enough priority to actually do something about it. So not chasing outstanding monies for the same reason. What happens if the customer gets upset with me and they never deal with me again? If they haven't paid, what are you losing? And probably the biggest one I deal with regularly is not starting tasks that are too big. If you don't break it down into bite-sized chunks, if something's going to take a whole day, well, I haven't really got a day, so I won't start it. But if you can break it down into manageable bite-sized chunks, that really does make a difference. So just to think about how many of you on that, without asking it, actually answer that question in a negative way. So take heart, it's quite easy to make small changes that have a large impact. So now I'm going to ask you some more questions, and this time they're far more empowering and far more positive. So do you have written goals and take action on a daily basis? Goals. If you don't know where you're going, you can't get there. As far as time management is concerned, it's absolute paramount importance to actually choose some goals, select some goals. For me, I like to ask clients, within your job role, what do you want to be doing? How do you want to behave in your day-to-day operation? Okay? As a person, what do you want to become? Do you want to be a very nice boss, a very supportive, very nurturing boss? Do you want to be very dictatorial? How do you want your staff to think about you? How do you want to treat them? And what do you want to achieve? Now, if you can answer those 3 questions, you can set the goals, have a strategy and achieve it by having the right mindset and taking some action in the way David was talking about, probably one action every day. But if you can't answer those questions and you don't set those goals, you've got issues. So I'm going to slightly sidestep where I am at the moment and just talk for 30 seconds on goal setting. People that have poor time management do what it shows on that. They totally react. Okay, whatever's thrown at them, that's the action they take. It's not working towards anything in particular. It's particularly task orientated and not results orientated. And what should happen when any client would work with the like of Dave and myself or any other business coach or mentor or Laurie, you go into the future. What do you want to be, do and have? What do you want to achieve? Paint that picture, tell the story, discuss with yourself or with others how that will feel. Then take a step back and work out what are the actions to get there. Because if you don't set those goals, you're not going to work as effectively as you can, doing the right things right at the right time. Do you start and finish your tasks on time? If You have a presentation to deliver tomorrow at 10 o'clock in the morning. Are you still working on it at either 5 to 10 or 5 past 10? Do you not finish the presentation going unprepared? Again, that's something that comes up very regular. When you're making your to-do list, I always recommend that you allocate time to it. So what's it going to take? 2 hours. Let's be on the safe side, allow 2.5 hours. When can I fit it into my routine? Calmly, collectively, easily, without any panic, that I can get it done before that deadline. Again, what David was saying before, really, really important. Do you deal with interruptions effectively? One of the things that I actually insist when I work with people is once they start to go through their routines, is for them to think about how important is it to have non-interruptible time. If people can have non-interruptible time and they can start to say no or no, not now, do it at a time that suits both sides, just do those two things that can make a massive difference. With this accountant that I was mentioning before that had all this backlog of 100 hours of work, and I've done this with probably 2-3 dozen clients, one of the things I got them to do was set the goal, and every time they were asked to do anything, ask the following question to themselves. If I say yes, does it help me reach my goal? And if it does, please do it. And if it doesn't help me, say no. And if you get post-it notes and you put, excuse me 1 minute please. If it doesn't suit you, if you put post-it notes everywhere that's going to be within your line of vision, your desktop, your laptop, your phone, your car, anywhere else that's important, the more you actually see the word no, and possibly no, not now, if no is too drastic for a yes, it makes an absolutely massive difference. And one of the easiest things to change is not to automatically say yes. Because people that are not selfish and always put everybody else first are normally the people that aren't working as effectively as they could. They might be doing the right things, but they're not doing right at the right time. So how many of you, just, I'm going to ask a very open question, how many of you can say no, not now, or will say yes? Thank you for your honesty for the ones that didn't. I appreciate
Can I
that.
ask you, in surveying, we have to go out a lot suddenly. How do you suggest the days are all reorganised?
It's up to you. Probably that you go out certain days of the week, so you...
Not necessarily, you may have to go out to see a site.
Okay. And does that happen literally? You have to go out this
Sure,
minute?
maybe a problem, and maybe a tenancy difficulty.
Okay, so if you've got something else arranged in your diary, what would you do with that current arrangement?
Well, you have to notify the person and apologise for not being able to service whatever it is, go to a meeting or to prepare something. But there are occasions when one has to be or
And
somewhere
would you
else.
reschedule that appointment at the same time?
Well, whatever you're doing, whether it's preparing something, you have to reschedule it. You have to set appointments for sure.
Right, my answer to that is if you take something out of your diary, that's not a problem provided you've okayed it with whoever you're meant to be meeting, provided you reschedule it. The issue is when you cancel it, you then run to your new meeting, but you've totally forgotten and not done whatever you were meant to do with the existing meeting. Now, whether that be with the client or colleague, or whether that be with the meeting yourself, there's no problems in changing things that do happen in your diary, but as long as you reschedule them. And the other way to overcome that is don't overcrowd your diary. We are going to talk about routines and overcrowding in a few minutes' time. But if you allow some reactive time each day, it does depend on your industry. But often, many of my clients find it works that they allow 1 hour or 2 hours a day with reactive time. So if something urgent comes up that literally can't wait, they can juggle their day around, because every day at 2 o'clock they have 2 hours reactive time, so if they have to reschedule something in the morning, they can fit it in during that reactive time. I know for several people around the table here, they've done that, and that does work very well. Howard?
One of the things that really helped me manage my time and be more effective was to take on other people to do the things that I really shouldn't be doing in the first place.
Thanks.
So, you know, I mean, it's an age-old thing, but you know what you're worth per hour. If you're doing a job that you would pay someone less than that to do, then really you should be doing that so that you can get them doing the work that you can do.
Or they can do it faster. It's
Or
like
they can do it
design
faster,
problems.
or better.
If you subscribe to a remote IT support
Yeah.
service, they can be doing that while you get on with your work.
I am so not good at paperwork. That's the other. Get to do what you're good at and pay other people to do what they're good at.
Absolutely outsource the areas
and
of
then,
expertise.
you know, life, and then you become happier. And less, and the word actually is frustrated, a lot less frustrated, because you're actually doing what you want to do.
And you're valuing your time in your areas of expertise. Most of us spend 20% of our time getting 80% of the results, and the other way around, 80% of our time only getting 20% of the results. So if we keep a time log, we just become more aware of how we spend the time, and we change that balance. Okay, so enough talking from me at the moment, because I will share tools and tips to take away, but I'd now like to get you to come up with some ideas yourselves. So what I'd like to do, in the first instance, just ask everybody where you are today on a scale of 1 to 10, how effective are you with how you manage your working day? With 10, you are superb, and 1, you're lousy. So with that in mind, the definition for this little exercise is how effective are you doing the right things right at the right time? So I'm sure everybody does do the right things, but they do them at the best time to suit them and their schedule, and not necessarily everybody else within their environment. So what I'd like to do now is flip some answers. No, sorry, I have to ask you first where you all are. So don't want to embarrass anybody, so I'm just going to start with 5 out of 10. So on a scale of 10, you're exactly where you want to be with your time management, and 1, you're not. Who can say that they're 5 out of 10 at least or higher? They're 50% effective with their time management. Again, thank you for the honesty for those that aren't. Please keep your hand up if you're 6 out of 10 or more. I'm looking for the real high achievers in here. 7 out of 10. Still got some, superb. 8 out of 10.
It's very selfish.
Very nice, good. Okay, so I'm going to be coming back to you too. Thank you very much. Okay, so what I want to do now is just identify all of you what you feel your strengths are, regardless if you're 5, 6, 7 or 8 out of 10 or higher. What do you do currently that's great with regards to your time management? Okay, so we've had some good answers already. Okay, so David's one was spending 1 minute looking at what was good and not so good, to learn from it. Marvellous thing to do. When I work with teams on time management, I always get them to sit down once a week and do exactly that. Set themselves a mini goal. What we've done this week has been really, really great. What should we do more of? What should we start? What maybe we should stop that hasn't been so good? What should we increase doing, and so on. Okay, some of the other comments that came out. Reva, you came up with some good ones. What were some of the things that you do that makes your time management great?
It's the emails now. It's my biggest problem,
Okay.
because the temptation of even keeping the Outlook off. Every time I want to send an email, I wanted to send an email to a member of staff, I have to open it up again. They all come in and then I'm tempted to look at them. This way at least I could communicate with everyone.
A lot of my clients find that if they only look at their emails 3 times a day, that doesn't work for all businesses, but it works for a lot. Okay, so if they make a list of what they need to do last thing at night, they come in the morning, look at their emails, reprioritise and jig what they have to do, turn it off, get on with some work, do their meetings, whatever, look again before or after lunch, turn it off again, do the same in the evening. Right? A few industries, probably legal is one, that it physically won't wait, but very few things can't wait 2 or 3 hours. And if you're much more focused and you have some non-interruptible time and get things done, it's not the end of the world, people will wait. It depends how you set those realistic expectations with your client. If you tell clients that I'm not going to be available between 10 and 12 every day, or whatever you come up with, but I will always call you back between 12 and 12:30, in most instances that will work. I'm talking in general terms here. Okay, Cyril, what do you do well with your time management now? Just one of the things that you really would recommend to others?
I think for me, what I do now is when I get, because my work is all related to time recording and that kind of stuff anyway, so one of the things I used to do is try and leave the attendance, the telephone attendance note at the very end. But I just take those immediately after the phone call. So that it's out of the way and it's fresh in my mind, rather than trying to remember what's in this.
So take action immediately,
Yeah.
is what you're saying. I'd like to call out something else, rather than me just going around the room.
Yeah, for me it's my to-do list. really has made a huge difference. And that's not just sort of the list in your head, it's actually a written down to-do list. And I actually have more than one to-do list. So I have a sort of long-term goals to-do list, but I also then have a what have I got to do today to-do list. And it's quite interesting because everyone's been talking about stopping using email, and very often actually I'll close my email so I don't get interrupted. But actually, when it comes to my to-do list, I've got a little trick with email, and that's when you're out and about or you're at home and it's 10 o'clock at night, to stop it keeping you awake, email yourself with that thing that you need to do, because then it will be in your inbox the following morning, and the emails from myself to myself are the most important.
Great solution.
I do that with my staff when they're giving me messages or they're telling me something. I'll say, if something telling me, email me, then I'll see it.
Yeah, I was going to say about the to-do list. Well, you started me off, Jenna, with this. You put the book and having to write them down. But the way I do it now, it has a proper layout to it. So there's work, the general stuff. There's work. There's stuff for fly. There's invoicing and who I'm going to pay. And because they're always in the same place in the book, and each one has a little heading and underneath it. It's so easy to locate those things because it's a sort of I don't know, I know where they are rather than a very long list of things.
So if I understand you, what you're saying, in your words, not mine, is that you have a routine as such.
Yeah, it's like the list has become a sort of, every time I turn the page, everything's always in the same place. The list is on the same page, so one week it might have many invoices to do, but it's always a heading with invoices and which ones I have to do. You know, the next one who to pay and what work there is, always in the same place.
I've got some routine, I've got lots of things people can have at the end if they want, but one of the things is a weekly or monthly routine. I break that down into the hours, and it might be, I'll put one up here, actually would be the easiest way to show you. So, you know, it might be check emails every morning, then act on your to-do list. One of the things many clients have found useful is if you've got things to do on your to-do list, if it's more than 15 or 20 minutes, don't put it on the to-do list. Actually give it a slot in the diary. It's going to take me 45 minutes. When do I have 45 minutes? I don't need to do it for a week. It'll go in next Tuesday. So it's a meeting with yourself to do something very, very specific. So in the way you're talking about, it might be once a week you do your invoices, once a week you do your chasing, whatever is the right routine for you and your business. But having a basic routine really helps people focus on what's important and keeps them on track. Howard?
I use a 3-day type system. So if I can explain, I have first and foremost on my free days when I don't work at all, I don't look at emails, I don't see clients, I don't answer the phone, everything's diverted. That's days for me, the family, everyone else. Saturday is one of those days, and very often there will be other days as well. Holidays. Then I have what's known as focus days. Those are the days where I only do stuff which makes me money, which is either networking, seeing clients, or planning their finances. And that is sort of a major part of my time. Then, of course, there's always that stuff that you don't want to do, which is like a buffer day. That's the day when I do stuff. But what you can't do is do a whole lot of stuff that makes you money, then do stuff, and then do more stuff that makes you money. Because that, if you pardon the expression, the definition of a muck sandwich, right? So you're better off putting the muck somewhere in a different day, the sort of stuff that you don't want to do the stuff that you really enjoy doing in those days, and then I'd never check emails on those days because emails are really good news. And have someone else answer your phone, just get out there, do your stuff. That's really the way in which I work. And now I'm doing it on a weekly basis because you know I'm going to live in Israel. And I'm going to come back here every couple of weeks to see my clients. So every 2 weeks is going to be that client-facing time, and then all the other stuff's going to be back in the branch.
I'd like to say one thing slightly challengeable, and there's no right or wrong, which is the reason I'm not turning around saying you must do ABC. What works for each person is slightly different.
This is what I would do.
No, absolutely, thank you. But if you've got something horrible and boring, right, for many people it's best to do it first thing in the morning and get it out the way. It clears your head, you feel relieved, excited, there's not all that weight on your shoulders, and you get on with your day. So, you're totally right, what works for you, and what works for somebody else. But for somebody that is a procrastinator, and I know you're not, you're very focused and very goals driven, you know exactly what you want to achieve. If it's sort of on your list and you should do it, and will I do it, and there's not real motivation to do it straight away and get it over with, because it will really lighten you up and you'll get a lot more done as the day goes on. Okay, Mark.
So just make sure you use the right tools for you to manage time, so the diary. If you never sit in front of a computer or have a phone with a diary on it, that you carry the physical diary around, use that instead, or use the tools that come with your computer if that's what happens, rather than just trying to keep it in your head. Because that's just a way to... Yeah, I mean, and that's the other thing, is obviously make sure that you actually put the information into the tools rather than just let it sit there. That's the problem I have. That you've got all these tools that come with the software you use and all the rest of it, and it's very easy just to overlook them and not use them in the ways that help. One of the things I do is to say, since the meeting with Jen, turn off the email, but I need to check them once an hour. But the computer's got a function on there to announce the time every hour. So it reminds you then you need to turn your email back on and check your email. Just use the tools that are sitting there in ways that you can use them so that you manage your time.
Okay, anybody else want to add any more things that they currently do that they feel is a real strength and really helps them?
Once you start a task, see it through. Don't leave it and then go back to it, because by the time you then start to get up to speed where you were, then you've wasted time again.
Brilliant. So finish task 1 before starting task 2. One of the things that I often recommend is when you've finished everything you can do on task 1, before you go on to task 2, if you have the sort of business that you do have to keep on looking at things that are more urgent, reprioritise your list. So task 2 might be the next thing on your list, but it might not. It might be something else that's coming in. I'm not saying do that every time, but certainly a few times a day to do that.
Yeah.
Anybody else want to add anything else just on their current strengths?
Managing clients' expectations as well, that they don't impose upon you, but you impose upon them what you're going to do, and they don't run you around. But to go with that is actually going after the clients you want. And sometimes that means saying, either with some clients, I don't do this, and I refer you on to somebody else. Or it's saying, you're not for me, it isn't worth me doing or whatever, because they will actually be the client to take up the most time. And in hard times, economic times, you might take them on just to get some money. But it isn't the way to go. It's being brave enough to say, I'm sorry, I don't deal with that.
Super. All right, thank you very much for honesty. I really appreciate it. So what we've got now is what you're doing today, that are your strengths. Now I want to wave a magic wand, and you're at your 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 for those perfectionists in the room. And look at if you could do anything that was possible, or you know anybody that has absolutely outstanding time management, the self-management of their day, they're doing the right things right at the right time, what would be going on? So what I'm trying to achieve here is we know where we are now, I'd like to look at where we could be, and then for everybody to come up with some options of what they might be inspired, committed to do to get value from this little learning guide. Okay, so the people that were 8 out of 10 plus this side of the room, your utopia, what do you do that makes you 8 out of 10? What's your utopia? What will even make it 9 out of 10? David?
Clarity about what I really want. And then the communication of that to anybody who can disturb it.
Great answer.
Including the wife.
In particular.
I'm sorry, can you write spouse just in case we get gender problems?
Yeah. No, I'm just writing clarity of what I want. I don't wish to cause domestic warfare here. I will type this up and send it to everybody, so just in case your wife reads it. Thank you. Arwin, anything else you'd like to add? What's utopia for you with being really effective with your time?
I think it's the biggest thing for me is less procrastination. That's got a lot less, but I think I'm in a different place with a lot of businesses because I ran one business, that's gone, and now I'm more in a startup, so I have more time. And some things that I've set up this business quite differently to other business that I've been involved in the past. And I suppose one thing I've done is been quite narcissistic on social media, setting up a business today to when I set it up 18 years ago. Social media is essential, and it's actually probably I would be employing somebody to do a lot of my social media rather than me, and website as well. So actually, somebody said earlier, I think, passing off tasks to somebody.
Yeah, I'm going to say
Outsourcing.
area.
I can do them, but should I?
Thank you. Okay, so other things that you might choose to do if you are perfect with your time management. This is wave a magic wand and you are as good as you can be. Mark?
Allow, when you assign some time for a task and you put it in your diary, I think it's having the capacity and the ability just to add a little bit extra so that you've got a bit more time to react to those things that absolutely you have to do or things that take a bit longer than you initially expect.
I'm going to say spare capacity.
Yeah.
I call that catch-up time. And many of my clients, especially techie people in the IT world, which I do quite a lot with, nothing personal to the people in the room, when you're trying to do something that's very technical, you can't really always accurately guess how long it's going to take. That probably goes for you as well, Cindy, when you're being very creative. I might be doing other people who are really justice, I apologise if I am. But some things it's easy to gauge relatively accurately what will happen, but others it isn't. So always give yourself, be generous with your time and give yourself a bit extra where possible, and if not, give yourself catch-up time.
Can I just piggyback on that, give yourself a little extra time, on the basis the biggest cost in any business is the cost of a lost opportunity. And unless you've got time for reflection, not for reacting, but for positive reflecting, then you won't be aware there was an opportunity.
Thank you for that. I'd also like to add something there. Most of us are either morning, afternoon or evening people, but we are more alert at a particular time of the day. And just adding on to David's thinking time, our thinking time and our concentration time would be when we are at our highest of concentration. So if you are a morning person, how do you spend the first 2 hours of your business morning? If you're an afternoon or evening person, exactly the same. You know, lots of people that take 3 hours to come to in the morning, is that the best time to do business development or whatever else is particularly important to them? So think about what sort of person you're and when are you at your best, and are you doing your thinking time and your most important stuff strategy-wise, concentration-wise, business development-wise, whatever it may be, at the best time of day for you. Thank you very much for that one, really, really important.
I'm always intrigued by Mavericks, and I heard once this guy who, like once a month, takes a train from London to Manchester and back again. That's his day. And it's out of the office, turns off email, everything, and he just works on what he needs to do that day and gets them out. Then, I don't know whether you heard the other day, the interview on BBC Radio 4 or 5 with Adrian Newey, the most important man in Formula 1. He's won three world championships with 3 different teams. He's a designer. And going back to the tools, he starts every single design he does with a 2B pencil and a piece of paper in a very technical world of F1. That is how he works. He's never changed. Yes, it eventually progresses on to the IT software and so on, but it's what he's comfortable with. So again, I'd endorse about using the tools that you're with. Just because it's the latest software, it may not be right for you. And I love software. But I used to go out and buy all these gadgets that came out because I was a gadget man. Now I don't do that at all. I work with what's comfortable for me.
I think another thing on the utopian side is to take a regular break and and stay hydrated and have something to eat for lunchtime, because otherwise your efficiency tends to dip, and therefore what may have taken you 10 minutes takes you 30 minutes.
Very, very true.
Add to that, if you have a habit of working weekends for a long period of time, you need to stop, because that or have your 2 days off, or whatever, whether it's weekends or whatever. But I tend to get into habits of, we've got long projects that sort of, and then in reaching the end date, you tend to work, say I'll just work a couple of Saturdays or whatever, and it tends to degrade efficiency quite dramatically over a period of time, and you don't actually realise until you've stopped for a while that efficiency is coming back again.
And it becomes a habit,
Yeah.
a negative habit rather than a positive habit.
Yeah.
Very much. Comes back to if you can learn to say no or no, not now, right? If you say no, I'm not going to work on weekends, I'm only going to work in the week in my 35 or 40 hours, whatever you set yourself as a goal. Every time somebody asks you to do something that's going to stop that happening, ask yourself what's more important. Doing whatever the client wants, I have to work Saturday or Sunday, or not doing it and doing it at a time to suit me to make it fit into my routine. And that doesn't happen in 2 minutes, but it's very easy to change that habit and, write yourself little post-it notes or whatever works for you, saying no really can make that difference, or no, not now. Darren, you want to say something?
Well,
Was it
Howard
Howard,
first,
sorry?
actually. Go on, Howard.
Oh, after you, Darren.
Oh, thank you. Obviously, every business is different. Everyone is different. When I first started introducing catch-up time into my diary, I'd set aside a 2-hour slot between 3 and 5 p.m. Now, for some people, having 2 hours of catch-up time in a standard 8-hour day sounds nuts, but I work in IT, and you can turn an entire week into a train wreck in just a few hours if you do not allow sufficient time, because it's just awful. But what I do now is I don't need that catch-up time every day. So what I've done is I've got into the habit of leaving the office, getting into the office early, but leaving the office at 4 p.m. It gives me an hour in the car on the way home to start processing things, thrash through ideas, bit of sort of just mental clarity. Probably driving an autopilot, which might be a dangerous thing, but I always seem to get home okay. But the important thing is that then I get home, I'll fire my email back up, I will deal with the things that have happened that I need to deal with. And if nothing's cropped up, if I get home and there's nothing important, then I'll carry on with things like business development and stuff like that. But it just makes such a difference, starting an hour earlier in the morning and then leaving the office an hour earlier in the evening. And also missing out on traffic and that cuts down on stress, it just makes a huge difference.
Okay, anybody want to add anything else on Utopia before we move on to the options?
Oh, sorry.
I want to make it talk about completely differently. I suppose, Bill, some businesses here are startups and others have been around a bit longer. But we're all, in a way, we are all here entrepreneurs. We all own our own businesses. And nowhere is it written that the person that owns their business has to work a 40-hour week. No one who owns their business has to turn up at 9 and go home at 5, or even turn up at 8 going to 3. We own our businesses and we can run as we see fit. And quite frankly, if you have a to-do list of 5 things that need to be done today, and it's all done by 12, then it's all done by 12. The pleasure of owning a business, the compensation for the stress of owning a business, and here's the result, is that you don't have to chain yourself to a desk just because convention says we work a 40-hour week. And I, for one, I'm happy to tell you that when I've done the things on my to-do list, and I know that I'm done, and I have a 20-minute shift in the afternoon because I get tired, which I have every day. And my businesses are happy for me.
Okay, just to bring this together. I'm sorry.
One small observation. Somebody said managing clients' expectations. It's managing contacts who don't respond. Ensuring that they don't make you inefficient by their delay in answering or dealing with you. Property. There's a lot of people who just can't be bothered because you're not important enough for them to ring you back, they think. And so managing that impact of not getting their job done can be difficult sometimes, even if it's like other people.
Yes, to some degree. Anybody else got some answers there before I give an answer?
Well, that happens to us, really. We design something, then it'll sit on the client's desk for 3 weeks, and then a deadline is something in 2 days, and you
Yes.
haven't got time to do it.
I think we tend to build that into the contract effectively, so that if we've got a contract with an estimated timescale and they're due to deliver something to us that allows us to build it, there's a clause in our contract that basically says if you don't provide it in a timely fashion by X, then we can't become responsible for your build deadlines. And that's the only way around it, because it's obviously crucial for them to provide this information, and you can't deliver without their input, and that's how we have to deal with it. And if they haven't delivered, we will have something
You
else.
identify that early to that.
Yes. Yeah.
I would warn clients that I nag them, and this year I've really taken it to the nth degree. Our biggest problem is January, as I'm sure most people know, and tax return season. And I'm achieving something because every 2 months I am actually emailing that whole list of clients that are normally the last minute ones or that haven't sent their information in, and I'm pushing to get as many out the way so that I don't have to work till 10 o'clock at night every day in January. That for me, because January is always the accountant's nightmare. So it's just a question of organising and being prioritised.
Okay, thank you all for your comments. So we've got what you're currently doing, what utopia would be, and I'd just like to go through some options that haven't come up today, of things you might choose to do. And what I'd like to do as we're going through those, for you to think about, for today, if this to bring value to you, what might you commit to doing differently to what you did when you came in tonight, and also what the benefits will be. And if you would like to, if you commit to take 3 new actions at some time in the next month, and you email me in the next 24 hours what those actions are and why you want to do them, I will offer you some telephone support to make sure you get from a different place from where you are today in the next 4 weeks. So I'd just like to go through a few things that haven't come up and say, please do write down anything that appeals to you that hasn't been discussed tonight. And you might want to just do some of the things that are down here. So have up-to-date written goals, whether it be for your personal life or your business life. Well, I started before. If you don't know where you want to be, what you want to be doing and what you want to achieve, you can't get there. So take that step forward, answer those questions for yourself, then go backwards and work out what you need to do to make that happen. And in the time frames, and then prioritise that. Again, I'm sure if you need some help, I can help you with that, or David, I know, can also help you with that to some degree, if that's what you like. When you've worked out what you want to do, in addition to your normally daily stuff that's in your routine that you have to do, take at least one daily action that's important to you reaching your goals. Darren talked about that before, that he makes sure that he does things to help him reach his goals. Do you start and finish your tasks on time? If you're generous with your time, and you know something's going to take you about an hour and you allow 90 minutes, if you haven't finished in 90 minutes, stop. Once you start getting into the habit of that, it will make you become more aware, and the more focused you are, the more aware, the more you can speed up. If you haven't finished it, and that urgent things do come up, you need to react to other things. Phil was talking about that before. So if you've got 2 weeks to do something, make sure you do it at least 2 days before the deadline and you complete it. Just again takes the pressure off. Somebody else talked about delegating, outsourcing. If you are not an expert in a particular field, and Howard talked about, you want to earn X per hour, it might pay you to find somebody else to do those things at Y per hour. It's working smart, not hard. And that's again part of what being effective with self-management of your time is. Do people seem pleased to help you? Often I work with clients that have such a horrible attitude towards, whether it be their boss, their clients, their staff, that nobody's going to help them happily. If it's asked in a very nice way, most people will say yes. And you punctual. Okay, most people with poor time management aren't punctual. It's not the way to start a good meeting where possible. Again, just being very focused on how you keep your time. As I said before, I recommend to clients that when they start working with me, that will be the same for David or any other business support, keep a time log for a week or 2 just to see how you spend your time. A, B or C. Things you have to do, A. B are things that you could pass to somebody else if you had somebody to, and C are things that are total waste of time. Total waste of time would be looking at your emails 60 or 70 times a day. And Allowing your staff to interrupt you when you're in the middle of something very important. Doesn't mean they can't interrupt you sometimes, but not necessarily at that moment when you're in the middle of something. Can you let go of work and not be stressed? Howard's made this quite clear on lots of things. If you're very organised and very focused, you have a neat and tidy desk. Like a neat and tidy desk and a neat and tidy computer, inbox, filing cabinet, will make a neat and tidy mind. It will allow you to turn off and relax far more easily. And yet the point of everybody having better time management is what David said, to enjoy how they're spending their time. And if there isn't the stress there, it makes life a lot easier. Putting your tasks on your list in priority order. Okay, so what is urgent has to be done, but also fit in some of the things that are important. If you only do the things that are urgent for clients, all the things for you to reach your goals never happen. Again, if you've worked really hard in 12 months and you turn around and think, I've got every hour of the day and night, but I haven't achieved any of my own business goals, how's that going to make you feel? Think about what's really important to you, and you do spend that time accordingly. Handling each piece of paper once only. Now, whether that be emails, it's laughter going on here, laughter is the meeting situation. Okay, and I could go on. I'm going to give you two things if you want them. I'll send them to you. One is a time management questionnaire, which will measure where you are today, and the other is a load of tips, some of which we talked about and some of which we haven't. I'll also type that up, and that will go out with the attendee list for anybody who would like that. So with that, I'd just like you to spend 30 seconds thinking about all the different things we've just spoken about. What would each of you like to commit to get some value from today? And do you need some support to make it happen? It might be support from me, it could be support from David, or it might be support from anybody else in the room, just that you're accountable to somebody. So I'm just going to give you a few seconds to physically think about that. What might you choose to do differently? If you were at a 5 out of 10, it will take you to a 6 out of 10, or if you're at a 7 out of 10, it will take you to an 8 out of 10. So what might you commit to do, and what's the gain to you? What's in it to you? Thank you very much. I'll just give you the 30 seconds and then we'll bring it to a close. Anybody wants to actually write down a couple of things?
Yes, I've started every now and again either tidying my desk or getting someone to tidy my desk for me, but I actually have decided that that is the thing that's actually stopping me getting from a sort of a 7 out of 10 to 9 out of 10. There's several reasons for that. One, I've got stuff on my desk which is distracting. And secondly, because the desk is often untidy, I'm handling things more than once. And those are the two main things. And I'm not simply going to say at the end of the day my desk is going to be clear, but what's going to be left on it is only the stuff I have to do tomorrow. And not the
So
stuff.
is it indecision? Because I have things like that. I don't know what to do with them. That's why I pick it up and put it down.
I'm not going to. I mean, it's either going to be dealt with, it's going to be put for tomorrow's pile, or it's going to go in the bin.
Can I come in there, if I may?
Yeah.
Comes back to setting your goals. If I take this action, is it helping me achieve my goals? Take it. If I don't take this action, is it going to help me reach my goals? And that should help you make that decision. But if you haven't got the goals set, that won't help you make some decisions in some instances.
A practical tip on piles on the desk: take the bottom half of it, put it in the bottom drawer, and the first of every month, if nobody's asked about it, put it in the waste paper basket.
Nice. Very nice. Reva, you wanted to say something?
I think I want to try and do some more of the important things and not just the urgent things. Because I always have urgent things because everything we have is on the deadline. But there are some important things and we do need to concentrate on.
Super. Anybody else? Mark?
On the goal setting, a bit more goal setting. And also I think I need to break tasks down a bit more so that they're a bit more easily scheduled as tasks rather than just past projects.
That's that's a really, really important one. I promise you will make an absolute massive difference. Steve, I know you came in at the end. I'm not sure quite how much you heard.
It's
Of
quite
all
ironic
that.
that I'm late for a meeting on time management, isn't it? Sorry.
It's absolutely fine. But is anything you'd like to commit to doing?
Well, I've been working with you for a short while now, so I've got the thing I'm trying to do is this issue of putting this slot in the afternoon for reactive time, but I'm consistently running into it with stuff that I'm just doing and haven't finished. And I'm not sure what distractions, but issues with clients that need responding to straight away, so I find it very difficult to compartmentalise those and put them into the appropriate buckets.
But if I understand you, what you're saying is you are allocating reactive time.
But then I'm using it.
Fine, but that's what it's there for.
Well, I'm not using it for the right purpose, but
Okay, well, it's a start.
Can I interject at that point? Because the nature of the business, and I'm sure Darren finds the same thing, is the fact that the reactive time is scheduled, which I do. I actually schedule the reactive time, but I can't guarantee that the reactions are going to happen in that time. So if I have to react to something at 10 o'clock in the morning, whatever was happening at 10 o'clock in the morning that has to be displaced by my reacting gets moved to 2 o'clock, or something else gets shifted through to 2 o'clock. So the reactive time is just a scheduled portion of the diary that's kept clear for you to schedule other things into, not necessarily the actual reactive parts of work.
yes, I know some of those bits have started to work for me. It's all fairly new, Jimmy will testify to that one. But, I'm talking about using the correct tools because I'm on the computer for most of the time. All I've got the iPhone or the iPad, if I happen to be out, is I set an alarm on the calendar that runs through 3 of those things. And on the PC, the alarm goes off. I didn't realise it was 3 o'clock. Probably haven't stopped at lunch, because it feels like it's still evening. And then so I do actually get a reminder that I've used up a lot of time doing stuff, so I need to stop and think about the priorities for the next part of the day. So it's calm beginning to go.
Well, we've only had 2 sessions, so well done. Rome doesn't change in a day. Okay, anybody else want to commit to something? If not,
I'm going to break a couple of large projects down into bite-sized chunks. One is to do my accounts so that I don't deliver them at the last minute to my accountant. Readers pricked my conscience there. And also to actually write my own marketing plan for next year. Because, the plumber's tap always leaks. And you help other people do these things, but you never do it for yourself. And so I need to actually take some time out and do my own.
I'd like to thank you all for your time. I'd like to thank you very much for being so patient, being so participatory, and I hope that the people have committed to do these things. If you'd like my support or other people in the group, please use it, because that's partly what we're here for, to support each other, and I hope you'll get great value from today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jenny, and thank you everybody for showing your appreciation for Jenny's time tonight. Some of you may remember there was an old Rolling Stones song, and it was "Time is on my side." And Jenny has shown us tonight how to get time on my side, so thank you very much for doing that. We're going to take a break shortly for dinner. Please help us. So thank you very much indeed. See you in about 30 minutes.